Gratitude is your expression of acknowledging the oneness of the universal energy working in cooperation with your desires. Let's look at the nature of gratitude. Gratitude is the complete and full response of the human heart to everything in the universe. It is the absence of feeling alienated or separate. It represents our full acknowledgement and appreciation of the energy flowing through all things and brings gifts to us in the form of the fulfillment of our desires. Gratitude recognizes that nothing is to be taken for granted, and, most important, it is an expression of complete, unconditional love in the form of a thank you to the God Force that is in all things. It is a way of being one with the God Force in full inner serenity. It recognizes that the spirit within ourselves is the same as that which sustains all life on the planet. Gratitude then represents the whole of ourselves. When we feel grateful and give thanks, sending out this kind of loving energy to the world in the same fashion that we did when we were asking for our heart's desire to be manifested, we feel complete. Gratitude allows us to feel more connected to that for which we are grateful. Gratitude acknowledges that we are the recipients of the generosity of others, of life, and of the universal spirit. Gratitude contributes a loving response to the whole of creation and to your relationships with creation. That relationship illustrates for us how interconnected and interdependent everything is, including the manifestations in our lives. When we understand the nature of gratitude, we can more clearly identify those things within ourselves that are obstacles to practicing gratitude. Gratitude is an inner process. It is an attitude of thankfulness, even when things do not appear as we would prefer. Rumi once wrote, "Don't grieve for what doesn't come. Some things that don't happen keep disasters from happening." Gratitude is a way of experiencing the world with love rather than judgment. The three most common obstacles to an attitude of gratitude originate in your mental processes. The first is simply called fault-finding. You always have the choice to be love-finding or fault-finding. The fault-finder focuses on what is wrong and what is missing. That focus shows up as criticism, judgment, and anger. The feeling is of being against the manifestations that appear in the world, rather than being for what one receives. As we think, so shall we be. If you are using your mind to think about what is wrong and what is lacking, this is precisely what will manifest for you. Finding fault, rather than being grateful and being a love finder, guarantees that you will not be able to participate in the co-creation of your life and the fulfillment of your desires. A second obstacle to an attitude of gratitude is called simply complaining. The complainer always feels shortchanged and deprived and consequently becomes envious and bitter toward those who seem to have been blessed with what is missing in his or her own life. The inner experience of complaining leads to being angry at the universal source that seems to have denied you the benefit of its infinite supply. Complaining is an expression of the absence of love in your inner world. When you feel love, there's no room for being upset with God for not delivering your ego's demands. And the third obstacle to an attitude of gratitude is taking what you have for granted. Taking things and people in your life for granted drains you of the joy that you could be experiencing. Taking things for granted means going through life unaware of the multitude of gifts that are here in each and every moment. Think of the activities and experiences that would be missed if they suddenly disappeared. Remind yourself that there are no ordinary moments. Kicking a ball around with a child, watching the shape of the clouds in the early morning, or hearing the sounds of the seasons, saying goodnight to a loved one. Every single experience is an opportunity to experience gratitude, or its opposite, ennui. It is also a choice. Strive to be alert to being a love finder. Sleepwalking through life is a choice to impede the gratitude that is necessary for you to become a manifester. If you take everything for granted, you will never be able to see the clues that will give you the impetus to take action on your desired manifestation. The appearance of the right person or the unexpected gift will be greeted with a shrug and a disinterest, which will prevent you from receiving its blessings. Be awake and fully appreciative of everything and everyone. And here appreciation and depreciation need to be understood. When we depreciate something, we devalue or diminish its worth. We depreciate things or people by expressing disapproval or dislike. It is impossible to feel grateful for something or someone we do not value. Begin to see things and people as they truly are. Each person is a child of God. See the unfolding of God in each person you meet. The moment you participate in the depreciation process, you block your ability to experience gratitude, and consequently, you obstruct your ability to manifest prosperity, love, and joy into your life. Essentially, the activity of depreciation means that you are not sensing the beauty of life. Become an appreciator, and therefore a manifester, by seeing the Christ shining back at you in the other person or groups of people. Cultivating an attitude of gratitude is something we all want to work on in this manifesting process. Make the shift to being grateful for all that you are and all that you have, and you will facilitate your ability to manifest into your life the essence of all that you desire. Develop an awareness of yourself as a recipient rather than as a victim. Be thankful and avoid complaining as much as possible. Catch yourself as you are about to find fault with someone or some condition. Then, instead, find something to say that reflects a willingness to be a love finder. Give yourself a specific period of time to practice avoiding complaining and fault-finding, perhaps 30 days. You will experience the emptying of rancor and complaints from your inner self and the opening to love, appreciation, and gratitude. Begin each and every day with an expression of gratitude and thanksgiving. Every morning when you awake, you have been given the gift of a sunrise and 24 hours to live. Take in a deep breath and be grateful for this exhilarating experience of breathing in life and love. End your day with an expression of love and a repetition of the word for peace, shalom. Be aware of the need to be grateful for the suffering and struggles that are part of the fabric of your life. Sometimes it's easy to simply be angry at your suffering rather than to know that it is the catalyst for your searching and awakening. And also remember, it is the nature of thought to increase. The more your thoughts are centered on what is missing, the more deficient you feel and the more complaints you will utter. Similarly, the more you practice gratitude, the more you are thankful and appreciative of all that life provides, and the more you feed your experience of abundance and love. Thank you, God. I see you working in my life, and I acknowledge with love my appreciation for all that you bring to me.
Living in the flow. The Tao and water are synonymous, according to the teachings of Lao Tzu. You are water. Water is you. Think about the first 9 months of your life after conception. You lived in and were nourished by amniotic fluid, which is truly unconditional love flowing into you, flowing as you. You are now 75% water, and your brain is 85% water, and the rest is simply muscled water. Think about the mysterious, magical nature of this liquid energy that we take for granted. Try to squeeze it, and it eludes us. Relax our hands into it, and we experience it readily. If it stays stationary, it will become stagnant. If it's allowed to flow, it will stay pure. It does not seek the high spots to be above it all, but settles for the lowest places. It gathers into rivers, lakes, and streams, courses to the sea, and then evaporates to fall again as rain. It maps out nothing, and it plays no favorites. It doesn't intend to provide sustenance to the animals and plants. It has no plans to irrigate the fields, to slake our thirst, or to provide the opportunity to swim, sail, ski, and scuba dive. These are some of the benefits that come naturally from water simply doing what it does and being what it is. The Tao asks you to clearly see the parallels between you and this naturally flowing substance that allows life to sustain itself. Live as water lives, since you are water. Become as contented as is the fluid that animates and supports you. Let your thoughts and behaviors move smoothly in accordance with the nature of all things. It's natural for you to be gentle, to allow others to be free to go where they're inclined to go, and to be as they need to be without interference from you. It is natural to trust in the eternal flow, to be true to your inner inclinations and stick to your words. It's natural to treat everyone as an equal. All of these lessons can be derived by observing how water, which sustains all life, behaves. It simply moves, and the benefits it provides occur from it being what it is, in harmony with the present moment and knowing the truth of precisely how to behave. What follows is what Lao Tzu might say to you based upon his writing of the 8th verse of the Tao Te Ching. First, when you're free to flow as water, you're free to communicate naturally. Information is exchanged and knowledge advances in a way that benefits everyone. Be careful not to assign yourself a place of importance above anyone else. Be receptive to everyone, particularly those who may not routinely receive respect, such as the uneducated or the homeless or troubled members of our society. Go to the low places loathed by all men, and have an open mind when you're there. Look for the Tao in everyone you encounter, and make a special effort to have acceptance, gentleness, and kindness course through you to others. By not being irritating, you'll be received with respect. By making every effort to avoid controlling the lives of others, you'll be in peaceful harmony with the natural order of the Tao. This is the way you nourish others without trying. Be like water, which creates opportunities for swimming and fishing and surfing and drinking and wading and sprinkling and floating and an endless list of benefits by not trying to do anything other than simply flow. And secondly, let your thoughts float freely. Forget about fighting life or trying to be something else. Rather, allow yourself to be like the material compound that comprises every aspect of your physical being. In the Hidden Messages of Water, Masaru Emoto explains that we are water, and water wants to be free. The author has thoroughly explored the ways in which this compound reacts, noting that by respecting and loving it, we can literally change its crystallization process. If kept in a container with the words love or thank you or you're beautiful imprinted on it, water becomes beautifully radiant crystals. Yet if the words on the container are you fool, Satan, or I will kill you, the crystals break apart, are distorted, and seem confused. The implications of Emoto's work are stupendous. Since our consciousness is located within us, and we're essentially water, then if we're out of balance in our intentions, it's within the realm of possibility that our intentions can impact the entire planet and beyond in a destructive way. As our Creator, the Eternal Tao, might put it, water of life am I, poured forth for thirsty men. Do the Tao now. Drink water silently today, while reminding yourself with each sip to nourish others in the same life-flourishing ways that streams give to the animals and rain delivers to the plants. Note how many places water is there for you, serving you by flowing naturally. Say a prayer of gratitude for this life-sustaining, always flowing substance.
Here's a quote from Marcus Aurelius, the famous Roman emperor. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature. And here's Mother Teresa. God does not command that we do great things, only little things with great love. There are no justified resentments. You hear people say this all the time. I have a right to be upset because of the way I've been treated. I have a right to be angry, hurt, depressed, sad, and resentful. Learning to avoid this kind of thinking is one of my top 10 secrets for living a life of inner peace, success, and happiness. Anytime you're filled with resentment, you're turning the controls of your emotional life over to others to manipulate. I became aware of how powerful this lesson was many years ago while sitting in on a meeting of 12 people who were in a recovery group for alcoholism and drug addiction. All 12 of those people were accustomed to blaming others for their weaknesses, using almost any excuse as a rationale for returning to their self-defeating ways. On a poster hanging in the room were these words, "In this group, there are no justified resentments." Regardless of what anyone would say to another group member, no matter how confrontational or ugly the accusations, each person was reminded that there are no justified resentments. You may need to consider whom you resent before you make your own choice about whether this is useful for you. Resentments give you an excuse to return to your old ways. This is what got you there in the first place. Why resentments are there? You may be familiar with a popular television show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? If the contestant answers 15 multiple-choice questions, he or she wins $1 million. Starting with a $100 question, the person in the hot seat answers 5 questions until reaching the $1,000 level. At this point, the person is guaranteed to leave with something. Then the questions increase in difficulty. If the contestant reaches $32,000, again there's a guarantee of leaving with that amount. So there are 2 crucial levels to attain. The $1,000 level, which is achieved by answering 5 relatively simple questions, and the $32,000 level, which involves 5 increasingly difficult questions. I've just related details about this TV program to present the idea of the 2 levels that you must achieve in order to have a chance at the highest $1 million level of awareness. The $1,000 level is one in which you can learn to leave blame behind in your life. If you don't do so, you're going to go home with nothing. Removing blame means never assigning responsibility to anyone for what you're experiencing. It means that you're willing to say, I may not understand why I feel this way, why I have this illness, why I've been victimized, or why I had this accident, but I am willing to say without any guilt or resentment that I own it, I live with it, and I am responsible for having it in my life. Why do this? If you take responsibility for having it, then at least you have a chance to also take responsibility for removing it or learning from it. If you're in some small way, perhaps unknown, responsible for that migraine headache or that depressed feeling, then you can go to work to remove it or discover what its message is for you. If, on the other hand, someone or something else is responsible in your mind, then of course you'll have to wait until they change for you to get better, and that is unlikely to occur. So at the $1,000 level, blame has to go. Otherwise, you go home with nothing and are unable to participate at the higher levels. You must be willing to pass a new test at the second critical level, the $32,000 question, which is the final obstacle you must face in order to move into the more exalted realm of self-actualization and higher consciousness, the $1,000,000 spiritual level, if you will. At this level, you must be willing to send the higher, faster energies of love, peace, joy, forgiveness, and kindness as your response to whatever comes your way. This is the start of the uncrowded extra mile, where you have only one love to give away. Someone says something to you that you find offensive, and rather than opting for resentment, you are able to depersonalize what you've just heard and respond with kindness. You would rather be right than kind. You have no need to make others wrong or to retaliate when you've been wronged. You do this for yourself. There's a Chinese proverb, if you're going to pursue revenge, you'd better dig 2 graves. Your resentments will destroy you. They are low energies. And along the extra mile, you'll only meet others who have fully grasped this concept. The ones who haven't made it to this level are all back with the crowd who went out of the game long ago on an easier question, and most are still back there wondering why they keep going home with nothing. But I can assure you that they continue to blame others for their emptiness. First, you have to get past blame. Then you have to learn to send love to all rather than anger and resentment. The story is told of the enlightened master who always responded to outbursts of criticism, judgment, and ridicule with love, kindness, and peace. One of his devotees asked him how he could possibly be so kind and peaceful in the face of such disparaging invective. His response to the devotee was this question: if someone offers you a gift, and you do not accept that gift, to whom does the gift belong? The answer leads us to the extra mile. Ask yourself, why would I allow something that belongs to someone else to be a source of my resentment? As the title of a popular book says, what you think of me is none of my business.
My teacher, Abraham Maslow, used to say that to become independent of the good opinion of other people is among the highest qualities of people who reach these levels of higher consciousness, or what we're talking about, the meaning phase of our life, or the afternoon of our life. And most of us get so consumed with what other people think of us. And when Buddha offered that quote, when his devotee said, how can you be so calm in the face of all that criticism? His answer was that question, which was, someone offers you a gift and you don't accept that gift, to whom does the gift belong? And they all thought about it and then realized that when someone offers you a gift of their opinion, no matter what it is, if you don't accept it, then it doesn't belong to you. And why in the world would you ever be upset about something that belongs to someone else? It's theirs, it's not yours. And that's something that each and every one of us can cultivate. And, it goes way beyond just that great spiritual story. It goes into when we put our focus on how much money am I making, or how much prestige do I have, or did I get that promotion, or did I win the game? All of that is really about being dependent upon the good opinion of other people. You ever watch television and see when the football game is on and the cameras pan the crowd and everybody's number one, and I think, only one person can be number one. Only one. But there's all of us out there. So even in a competitive tennis match or whatever it might be that you're doing, there's still the place within you where you can allow other people's opinions to be just what they are and to just enjoy every single moment of it. Just recently, in an Olympic match, there was a high hurdler who was running for the gold medal. And when she got to the 9th hurdle, there's 10 hurdles, when she got to the 9th hurdle, she said in her interview afterwards, I already saw the gold medal around my neck. And as soon as she took her focus off of what she was there to do and onto the outcome, or what other people were going to think of her and what it was going to be like to stand on the podium, she hit the hurdle. And she hadn't hit a hurdle in years. If we stay on purpose, on process, rather than on what people think and what the outcome is going to be, nothing can stop us. Nothing. Carl Jung once said that at the same moment that you're a protagonist in your own life and you're making choices, at the very same moment you're also the spear carrier or the extra in a much larger drama. You know, we are making choices, he said, but we are all doomed to make choices, which is a paradox. You know, we're doomed, that is, it's all set up for us, and we're also making choices. And if you want to get to the highest place in the Bhagavad Gita, the great ancient spiritual text of the Hindu faith, you know, the Bhagavad Gita teaches us, that means Song of the Lord. It teaches us that you have to learn to blend the two opposites and live with two opposite ideas at the same time. I am a choice maker, I am out there, I have a free will, and at the same time, I am being lived by the Tao. And both of those, while they may contradict each other, it's the way of life, because what doesn't contradict? Think about who you are. Think about who you are right now listening to this. Who you are is this thing that's in physical form. It has a beginning, it has an end, it has substance to it, you can touch it, you can feel it, you get a hold of it. And also who you are is totally and completely invisible. That part of you which is listening to this and processing this and thinking about it and wondering about it is invisible. It has no form. You are form and formless all at the same moment. If I want to just wiggle my finger, it's an amazing thing to be able to just take this finger and wiggle it, because here's the finger and I wiggle it. What makes it wiggle it? You know, you can go inside of my brain and you can find, you know, that which allows it to happen, but you can never find the interior, the invisibleness within each and every one of us that just says, I'm going to wiggle my finger. That's just a thought. It's invisible. You can't get a hold of that. You can't grab that thought. So I am that, and I am also the finger that is wiggling. I'm both. And that paradox is something we all have to learn to live with and stop fighting it. It's just in the way of things.
It's all unfolding in divine order. By now you should be affirming that everyone you need for this journey of yours will show up, and that they'll be perfect in every way for whatever needs you have at this time. Furthermore, they'll arrive at precisely the right moment. In this play called your life, it has all been perfect. Your ex-spouse showed up at just the right time when you needed to create those children you love so much. The father who walked out on you so that you could learn self-reliance left right on time. The lover who abandoned you was a part of this perfection. The good times, the struggles, the tears, the abuse, all of it involved people coming into your life and then leaving. And all of your tears will not and cannot wash out one word of it. This is your past, and whatever your energy level at that time, whatever your needs, whatever your station in life, you attracted the right people and events to you. You may feel that they didn't show up when you needed them, that in fact you were alone and no one showed up at all, but I urge you to see it from the perspective of all of life being in divine order. If no one showed up, it was because you needed to handle something on your own and therefore attracted no one to fulfill your energy level at that time. Viewing the past as a play in which all characters and all entrances and all exits were scripted by your source and was what you attracted at the time frees you from the very low energies of guilt, regret, and often revenge. As a result, you'll go from being an actor who's influenced by others playing the roles of producer and director to being the writer, producer, director, and star of your own glorious life. You'll also be the casting director who possesses the ability to audition anyone you choose. Base your choices on taking the path of no resistance and staying harmonized with the ultimate producer of this entire drama, the universal, all-creating mind of intention. You must be what it is that you are seeking. This is a universe of attraction and energy. You can't have a desire to attract a mate who's confident, generous, non-judgmental, and gentle and expect that desire to be manifested if you're thinking and acting in non-confident, selfish, judgmental, or arrogant ways. The right people will show up precisely when you need them and when you're able to match up. You must be that which you desire. When you are what you desire, you attract it by radiating it outward. You have this ability to match up with the power of intention and fulfill your intention to attract ideal people and divine relationships. Love can only be attracted by and returned by love. The best advice I can give for attracting and maintaining spiritual partnerships, as is emphasized here, is to be what it is that you're seeking. Most relationships that fail to sustain themselves are based on one or both of the partners feeling as if their freedom has been compromised in some way.
Spiritual partnerships, on the other hand, are never about making another person feel inferior or ignored in any way. The term spiritual partnership simply means that the energy that holds the two of you together is in close harmony with the source energy of intention that I've described earlier. You've already connected to those you want in your life, so act like it. Mystically speaking, there's no difference between you and another person. A weird concept, perhaps, but nevertheless valid. This explains why you can't hurt another person without hurting yourself, nor can you help another person without helping yourself. You share the same source energy with everyone, and consequently you must begin to think and act in a way that reflects your awareness of this principle. When you feel the need to have the right person show up, begin to change your inner dialogue to reflect this awareness. Rather than saying, I wish this person would show up because I need to get out of this rut, activate a thought instead that reflects your connection, such as, I know the right person will be arriving in divine order at precisely the perfect time. You are love. You emanated from pure love. You're connected to this source of love at all times. Think this way, feel this way, and you'll soon act this way. And all that you think, feel, and do will be reciprocated in exactly the same fashion. Believe it or not, this principle of the right person showing up has been in place forever. It's only your ego that keeps you from seeing it clearly. A few words here about patience. There's a wonderfully paradoxical line in A Course in Miracles. It says, infinite patience produces immediate results. To be infinitely patient means to have an absolute knowing within you that you're in vibrational harmony with the all-creating force that intended you here. You are, in fact, a co-creator of your life. You know that the right people will show up on divinely ordained schedule. Attempting to rush the schedule based on your own timetable is akin to getting down on your knees and tugging at an emerging tulip shoot, insisting that you need to flower now. Creation reveals its secrets by and by, not according to your agenda. The immediate results that you'll receive from your infinite patience is a deep sense of peace. You'll feel the love of the creation process, you'll stop making incessant demands, and you'll start being on the lookout for exactly the right person.
In the teachings of Buddha, there was a quote that I really loved. I didn't put it as a display quote, but it's really very powerful. And that quote from Buddha is, the only effort of any intelligent person in this world ought to be to know something which cannot be destroyed by death. The only effort of any intelligent person in this world ought to be to know something, not to believe in something, to know something which cannot be destroyed by death. And I wonder if you know something. Know means trust. If you trust in something without any doubt that cannot be destroyed by death, certainly it's not your body or any of your possessions, all of which will become dust. Everything on the planet, including you, to put it in Ken Wilber's terms, is tomorrow's food. It's a constant recycling in the physical plane. So what part of you cannot be destroyed by death? What part of you is real, if you will, as Lao Tzu put it? But I knew there was something in the New Testament that really had struck me. So the first is from John 10, verse 34. It says, "Is it not written in your law, I have said, you are gods?" From Jesus Christ. "Is it not written in your law, I have said, you are gods?" Which is really what you have to understand and embrace and know if you're going to become a manifester. You have to know what you are being told here by a great spiritual teacher. You are gods. And the second one was John 14, verse 20, that says, "On that day you will know." See how that word know is always there. You won't believe. You will know. "On that day you will know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you." So, what is being talked about here? What is being talked about is not something that is physical. This is not like my arm is in your arm, my spleen is in you. What we're talking about here is something that is beyond the physical, that is in you and in the Father, and in me and in everything. And if you get this, if you know this, then you begin to see yourself as connected to this divine intelligence that is everywhere, that is always flowing, that is inexhaustible, that is non-judgmental, that is available for you to plug into, just like electricity. And you can do anything you want with it, like electricity. It'll light up a hospital where everybody is reputed to be ill, and it'll light up a house of ill repute. You can do what you want with it. It is there. It is divine. And you are a piece of it. You are connected to it. And once you trust in this, and once you know this, you almost come to a different perspective in your life. Earlier in the first principle, I had talked about these archetypes that Carl Jung referred to. And in these archetypes, he said that we move from athletes to warriors to statesmen to spirit, and then when we are there, we can be all of these things. And one of the things that he also said is that if you don't get to this highest place, this highest archetype, then you will continue to come back and do it. Now, he's talking about reincarnation, and I'm not going to talk about reincarnation here. The way I see it is I think of God as like the ocean for me. To understand this idea of learning to trust, God is like the ocean, and I am a glass. And I take this glass, and I dip it into the ocean. And I say, okay, what do I have here? And the answer is, I have a glass of God. Now, it's not as big, it's not as strong, it's not as all-knowing, it's not as all-powerful, but it is still God. And just like a wave on the ocean is what the ocean is doing, you are what God is doing. And until you know this, you will never have the trust I'm talking about. You are what God is doing. And if you take a drop of water out of that ocean and you separate it out and you put it over here, you will find that it is weak, that it will collapse, that it has no power, that it can't do anything, because it is separated from its source. And the same is true of us. When we separate ourselves from our source, from the divinity that is in all things, we take and make ourselves powerless, impotent, unable to do the divine things that we can do when we are united, both as united with God, or with soul, or spirit, whatever you want to call it, united with each other. You see, it's that separation. It's always that separation. So it's almost like learning to trust in yourself involves trusting in the fact that you have a divinity. And this divinity is evident on the basis of the idea that God is everywhere. And if this intelligence is everywhere, you have to trust that it's in you. And there's no mistakes here. And while you may not always honor everything that you do and that others do, you can see that your essence, your basic essence of what it is that created you in the first place, is that divine organizing intelligence that can never die. You've got to know that. You've got to trust in that.
Here are some exercises to initiate becoming and being peaceful. Want the peace you desire for yourself even more for others. Practice giving away peace wherever you go by imagining that only thoughts of peace are in the container within you. Offer these energies wherever possible. Become a peacemaker with your fellow workers, your family members, and especially those with whom you're in a love relationship. Leave your ego outside where it can't extinguish your candle flame. Then offer someone with whom you usually argue and make wrong a new thought from the light. You're making a good point there. I think I'll think about that. Or thanks for giving me your opinion. I value what you have to say. These statements may at first shock the recipient, but you know that you're practicing becoming a being of peace by giving away what you want. And then ask. Use the words of St. Francis to ask to become peace. Make me an instrument of thy peace. The act of asking, even if you don't feel an answer right away, will alter the balance toward becoming the peace that you desire. Once you've asked, you'll find that it is given more readily than you may have suspected. This is a process of suspending your ego and allowing the higher, more spiritually based energies to weigh in toward your becoming more balanced. Slow down. Take your time. Your work isn't terribly important. Your worldly duties aren't terribly important. Make your first and primary priority in your life being in balance with the source of creation. Become thoughtful in your slowed down time and invite the divine to be known in your life. Being the peace you desire means becoming a more relaxed person whose balance point doesn't attract anxiety and stress symptoms. Make deliberate, conscious efforts to slow yourself down by relaxing your mind. Take a little more time to enjoy your life here on this planet. Be more contemplative by noticing the stars, the clouds, the rivers, the animals, the rainstorms, and all of the natural world. And then, extend the same slowed-down, loving energy to all people. Begin with your family. Take a few extra hours to romp with your children, to listen to their ideas, to read them a story. Go for a walk with your most cherished loved one and say how much you treasure him or her in your life. Extend this slowed-down perspective outward at work, in your community, and even to strangers. Make a deliberate effort to give someone your place in line rather than hurrying to be first. Become conscious of your efforts to become the peace you desire and to live in balance, even while you're driving. As you slow your thoughts down and decide to enjoy your life more, bring your car to a stop at a yellow caution light rather than speeding on through. Consciously drive at a relaxed pace rather than in a frenzy to get somewhere 2 minutes sooner. Let other people into the stream of traffic by being courteous rather than right. These are all ways to begin the process of realignment. Become conscious of your desire to be at peace, and then match your present moment thoughts to that desire. You'll become more compassionate without trying to be, simply because you've aligned your inner world with your desire to be in balance. You'll find that your body will feel more in balance as you pursue this glorious quest, as it will experience fewer symptoms of stress. Your body weight will adjust to the optimal level as you return to a state of perfect equilibrium. Your skin will reflect the balance and peace that you're becoming. Your digestion will return to normal without the aid of pills. Your sleep patterns will adjust. Your bowels will function perfectly as they were designed to. In short, you will be in perfect balance. You will not only be in balance, but irony of ironies, you'll become more productive. You'll have more abundance flowing in your life while being peaceful for the first time since you were a child. Take the advice of my teacher, Nisargadatta Maharaj. Just be. Give it a try, and I promise you'll be peacefully surprised. Here are 3 suggestions for implementing the ideas of this chapter. 1. Set aside multiple times during your day to stop and ask yourself this key question. Right now, in what I am about to say or do my desires stem from my lower or my higher self? The ego is all about self-serving, ownership, winning, judging, and so on. The higher self is about serving, loving, and being in a non-judgmental state of peace. Ask yourself this question and create the opportunity to align yourself more fully with God. You then have access to the same powers of manifestation as your source of being. This question, when honestly explored, helps you align with the power to fulfill your wishes and desires. You don't need to abolish your ego animal nature. You do need to keep it tamed, but it isn't allowed to overshadow or destroy your spirit. Give your divine nature a chance by asking yourself this question. Right now, in what I am about to say or do my desires stem from my lower or my higher self? A very important question. Second suggestion. Spend some of your quiet meditation time visualizing a tiny spark of awareness glowing within your being. Practice seeing this God portion of yourself expanding its glow within your mind. See it growing into a personally satisfying size. Continue this expansion exercise, sensing the spark and glow as your God essence. You will begin acting from this inner God-realized image. And the third suggestion, use these affirmations frequently. I am all-knowing. I am all-powerful. I am unlimited. This helps you banish doubt and refer to this portion of yourself that lives in a spiritual world of no restrictions. Simply affirm to yourself without explaining to others or demonstrating pride in what you're doing. You are ridding yourself of ego-dominated mental messages that continue to want to convince you that you are primarily your body and its five senses. And here is a display quote from the book of Philippians, Philippians 2, verses 5 and 6. Quote, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who, being in the form of God, did not consider it robbery to be equal with God." As your awareness increases that you are a God-realized being, you will welcome it as the central focus of your life. The concept of your higher self will gradually evolve into your highest self, which is truly omniscient, almighty, and capable of producing miracles. Here you will see a new reality, a majestic idea of yourself that previously seemed inconceivable. Your highest self is described in the pronouncement in the display quote that I just read, written by St. Paul in his letters to the Philippians in the New Testament. You move from being a spark or a fragment of God to being able to assert that I am God, and not feel as if you're committing blasphemy or a cardinal sin by such a declaration. Here, the idea that you are equal with God was promoted by Jesus Christ, and you are encouraged by him to let this mind be in you. This isn't the God created by humans, the ego-driven deity who plays favorites and requires ostentatious places of worship, has temper tantrums, demands reparations, and is filled with rage, punishing those who do not do his bidding. Not even close. I am speaking here of the creative source of all being, a God who is responsible for creating the miraculous movement from non-being to being, a God who is formless, who does nothing, yet leaves nothing undone, a God who is everywhere. This is a divine, invisible presence that's within you. This idea is at the basis of all great spiritual teaching throughout all time. When you are this God, your essence of pure love, it is all you have to give away. And when you realign yourself in this vein, once again quoting Jesus the Christ, quote, "With men, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible." Now, all things are possible leaves out nothing, including your ability to fulfill any and all wishes that are aligned with God. You may find it difficult at first to be able to assert to yourself that I am God, but when you put it into the context of God as love, and pure love allows you to be almighty, all-knowing, and God-realized, you will, I assure you, begin to regain the omnipotence that is your essence from the moment of your transition from non-being or spirit to being, that is human. In the Vedanta, the ancient pre-Christian teachings, we are reminded that we are not a part of, but identical with, that absolute spirit of the world. This is your highest self. It's indeed a towering assumption, but one, if used in context and alignment with the creative source of all, that is the key to mastering the ability to live a life of your own wishes being fulfilled. After all, with God as you, and you as God, all things are possible.
First and foremost, enjoy the mystery. Let the world unfold without always attempting to figure it all out. Let relationships just be. For example, since everything is going to stretch out in divine order, don't try so hard to make something work. Simply allow. Don't always toil at trying to understand your mate or your children or your parents or your boss or anyone else, because the Tao is working at all times. When expectations are shattered, practice allowing that to be the way it is. Relax. Let go. Allow. And recognize that some of your desires are about how you think your world should be, rather than how it is at that moment. Become an astute observer. Judge less and listen more. Take time to open your mind to the fascinating mystery and uncertainty that we all experience. And then, practice letting go of always naming and labeling. The labeling process is what most of us were taught in school,
We studied hard to be able to define things correctly in order to get what we called high grades. Most educational institutions insisted on identifying everything, leading to a tag that distinguished us graduates with knowledge of specific categories. Yet we know, without anyone telling us, that there's no title or degree or distinguishing label that truly defines us. In the same way that water is not the word water any more than it is agua, Wasser, or H2O. Nothing in this universe is what it's named. In spite of our endless categorizations, each animal, flower, mineral, and human can never truly be described. In the same way, the Tao tells us that the name that can be named is not the eternal name. We must bask in the magnificence of what is seen and sensed, instead of always memorizing and categorizing. Do the Tao now. At some point today, notice an instant of annoyance or irritation you have with another person or situation. Decide to do the Tao, or practice the way, in that moment by turning inward with curiosity about where you are on the continuum between desire and allowing. Permit the paradox of wanting the irritant to vanish and allowing it to be what it is. Look inward for it in your thoughts and allow yourself to feel it wherever it is and however it moves in your body. Turn all of your attention to becoming open-minded, allowing permissiveness to befriend the mystery within yourself. Notice how the feeling manifests itself, perhaps doing loop-de-loops in your stomach, giving a rigidness to your skeleton, making your heart pound, or tightening your throat. Wherever it is, allow it as an enigmatic messenger within you, and give it non-judgmental attention. Notice the desire for the feeling to disappear, and allow it to be monitored compassionately by you. Accept whatever comes. Encounter the mystery within without labeling, explaining, or defending. It's a subtle distinction at first, which you must take personal responsibility for identifying. You alone can prepare the ground of your being for the experience of living the mystery.